Okay, what is going on? Happy Tuesday. So, I just wanted to hop on here today and talk about the last couple of trading days. So, Monday, we took one trade. Tuesday, today, we took one trade, and I just sort of wanted to go over those trades that we took. So, Monday, going into Monday here, I'll just hop right into it. I noticed that we had stacked equal highs with London high. So right off the hop, that was a decent liquidity pool. And then we created somewhat equal highs here. You could argue that we took this high with this high. Let me jump to the one. You could argue that we took these highs with this candle here, but because it barely wicked above, in my mind, that's still equal highs. Like some people would look at this and go, oh no, we swept it. To me, that's so close that I would consider these equal highs. So as soon as we left equal highs up here, I was sort of hesitant to short. So for example, this short right here looked pretty good in my opinion. However, we still had these resting equal highs above, so I was hesitant to take this. Yes, it did work out, but a lot of the time when you do have equal highs like this, that's when you'll start to notice that these inverse fair value gaps start to fail. So I decided to look for longs. I was taking longs, trying to target these highs. And this was the first trade of the day I took. It was a little bit later in the day. We had good patience. We waited, I think, about 2 hours for this setup here. So I saw this 5-minute fair value gap, and I said to myself that I wouldn't take any trades to the upside unless this got disrespected, unless we inverse this 5. And we did inverse this 5. And as soon as we inversed it, I started looking for entries on the 1 minute. And we had this 1 minute gap here. Oh my gosh, sorry, my window's open, so many cars driving by. We had this 1 minute gap here. And as you can see, price was testing this 1 minute gap over and over again. So we tested this 1 minute gap about 3 times before finally breaking through. And at this point, let me just mark up the 5 again. And at this point, I was still waiting for the 5 minute to close because the 5 minute was still holding. But as soon as we closed below, or sorry, as soon as we closed above this gap on the 5, which would be right here, I decided to enter the trade as we inverse the 5, but we also inversed this 1 minute fair value gap. So the reason I like this trade quite a bit was for a couple reasons here. One is we closed above the 5, we closed above the 1, but we also had a pretty clear target being these equal highs right here. So the target for this trade was these equal highs, and I took the position off there. And as soon as we created this, as soon as we closed above this order block, I immediately put my stop to below this order block here. Anytime we create an order block above a inverse fair value gap, anytime we close above an order block, I'll tend to move my stop to below that order block, because a lot of the times if these order blocks get disrespected, I've noticed price will move a lot more to the downside or upside. As soon as price starts disrespecting these PD arrays, you're probably looking to hop out of the trade. So I put my stop below this order block here, targeting these equal highs. And the reason I got out at these equal highs and didn't hold for longer, and it's a good thing I did because you can see price reversed, was because we had a 15-minute fair value gap right here, a bearish 15-minute. So I didn't want to try to fade this 15-minute gap here. So as soon as we tapped into that and took the equal highs, I closed the trade there. I made about 350 on that trade. It was a small trade, but I was happy with that. It was a no news Monday, so I'll take it. And then we took one trade today, which was a loss, and I'll show you guys that trade right here in a second. Okay, so going into Tuesday here, I woke up a little bit later in the day. Had a bit of a long night at work last night, so I woke up around 9:30, 9:40. And And I watched price for a little bit, didn't really see anything I liked, but I noticed that we started to make some low resistance liquidity here. And I was looking for an entry to take out this high, which is the beginning of the low resistance liquidity. And this to me looked really good here, as we had a nice sweep. And we just had all of these stacked highs here waiting to be swept. But the problem is we never made a gap in this leg for me to take. So again, our model is the inverse fair value gap. So anytime a bullish or bearish gap gets disrespected, that's when we will enter. But unfortunately, if you look on all time frames here, the 3, there was no gap. 5, no gap. 2, there was no gap for us to enter on. And the 1, really no gap either. You could argue that this is a small gap here, but it's just really too small for me to be taking. I like something that's a little bit more obvious. But as soon as we took the LRLR here, as soon as we swept this high, the 930 high there, New York high, I sort of flipped bearish if we could inverse this 5 minute here. So I said, okay, if we can inverse this 5 minute, we're most likely going to see price drop quite a bit lower, especially because we had these stacked lows here. So we had these relative equal lows, and I knew that that was going to be the new draw on liquidity. So my whole trade idea after this high got swept was watching this 5 minute gap here. I was waiting for this to get inversed, and then I was trying to look for a 1 minute trade to the downside. So hopping to the 1 here, let's play price a little bit. So hopping to the 1, we can see that we actually do close below this. We closed below this 5 minute gap right here, as this is the 11 o'clock candle, so that's when the 5 minute candle closes. This is the 5 minute gap. So we did close below, and then we had a bit of a push up into this gap here. And then we inversed this gap on the 1 minute. So this was my entry, and I was hoping that I would be able to put my trade to break even as soon as we take this low. But unfortunately, we never took this low. I wasn't able to go break even, and I closed my trade out on this candle close right here as we closed back above the inverse. So that was a small loss on the day. It was about a $400 loss, which brings me to basically break even for the week. But I'm okay with that because I'm sticking with my discipline. I'm not hanging on to my losers, which used to be an issue of mine. So I'm happy to take a loss on a trade like that, especially because I followed my game plan. The only thing I would have done different if I could have taken this trade again, and of course that's so easy to say in hindsight, but if you look at the 5 minute, we had this untapped 5 minute up here. And a lot of the time what price will do is they'll retrace into these untapped 5 minute gaps. So realistically, what I should have done is waited for price to retrace back into this or retrace back into discount, as you can see. So what happens is price actually does retrace back into discount there, or sorry, premium, I guess it would be. And then we proceed to take these equal lows. So I had that one loss. I was done for the day, but I did take some demo trades. And I did take this trade on demo here. So this is the 5 minute gap. As you can see, we retrace back into it. And again, the draw on liquidity is still these relative equal lows down here. So when we do retrace back into this 5, I'm looking for a gap on a higher time frame. We don't really we have one on the 1 minute here, but that wasn't the cleanest in my opinion, especially because we have gaps on the higher time frame. So if you take a look at the 3 minute, we have a very clean gap on the 3. So this was my entry on demo. And I really should have taken this on live. I don't know why I didn't. I think after I take a big loss, I'm usually kind of hesitant to hop back in a trade. I got to work on that a little bit. But as you can see, this would have been your entry right here, a close below the gap. Why isn't it letting me put that? There we go. So close below the gap, stop above, and you are targeting these relative equal lows and then putting your stop to break even as soon as you take the internal swing low. So you can put your stop to break even as soon as you take this swing low, or as soon as you take this swing low right here. It's really up to you. If you put your stop at break even as soon as you took this swing low, it looks like you would have got stopped at break even. But if you waited for the more obvious swing low, you would have been fine and the full TP would have been hit there for, sorry, the camera is just in the way of the measurement tool. And the full TP would have been hit for about 70 points. So that's a really nice trade there. A lot of things lined up. You had the 5-minute, the bearish 5-minute gap. You had the 3-minute inverse, and you had a beautiful target below being equal lows, which is always such a good liquidity pool to target. So yeah, that's Monday. That's Tuesday summed up. I know a lot of people weren't trading today because it's the day before FOMC, so price action can be a little bit spotty. But again, you know, I'm not too bummed about the loss. I followed my trade plan, and yeah, let's see what we can do. We might trade tomorrow afternoon after news, but we shall see. Anyway, that's it. See you guys. Catch you in the next one. So just a quick update on the account. The account is sitting at 51,360. So we're up just under 3% on the account, which means we need to make just over 3% to pass. And I got a good feeling about this one. I think we can get it done in the next couple days. I think we'll have this passed by next week, and then we're live, and then hopefully we can get some payouts going here. Yes, sir.